Chablis is located in the Yonne department of France. It's the northernmost region in Bourgogne. And actually, interesting little tidbit, there was a movement recently to think about separating Chablis actually from the rest of Bourgogne. Luckily, that didn't come to pass after much discussion, and about 450 growers and vintners arguing that to the INAO that it should not be separated off from Bourgogne. And the latest developments coming here actually in this year in February. So that's very good news. So still part of the Burgundy region. It's about halfway between the Loire, Champagne, Paris, and the rest of the Burgundy region. So it's quite an isolated area, and it's surrounded by a couple of other wine regions, Auxerre, for instance, the Grand Auxerrois, and the Chantilly as well. About 60 square kilometers in size. And it sits just outside of the Paris Basin, and it represents about 25% of the area under vine for the entire region of Bourgogne. So here we have it placed on a map of Greater France. We're at the northernmost region. We're at the 48th parallel. We're actually at the 47th degree parallel, 48 degrees north. And by comparison, if we look at number 5 on this map, the Mâcon is at the 46th degree parallel, 18 degrees north. So there is quite a difference. There's about 230 kilometers distance from Chablis down to the Mâconnais, which is equivalent to about 143 miles from north to south for the entire Bourgogne. If we look at the geology, which we'll cover first in quite a bit of detail, the geological formations here really date back to the Jurassic period, when the subsoil of Chablis was laid down about 190 million years ago. There was a shallow tropical sea that covered virtually the entire territory of France. And at this time, there was a tropical climate as well that favored the development of corals, of shellfish. And it's those remains that broke down over time that formed a significant limestone deposit. And this limestone combined with the seashore clays to form what we know today as marl. And these Kimmeridgian marls can be found throughout the northern part of Burgundy of Bourgogne and are recognized by the presence of tiny comma-shaped oyster fossils. This whole Kimmeridgian ridge actually goes over into the Loire, goes up into Champagne, and Kimmeridgian actually takes its name from Kimmeridge, which is a town on the coast in Dorset, England. So it does go underneath the English Channel and come back up in the British Isles. And it's these Kimmeridgian marls that were made famous really in the Chablis region, and we talk about them often, and we'll talk a little bit more about them. I'm giving them some context here later on. But as I said, they can be found in some of the neighboring wine regions as well. Then if we look at the Tertiary period and look at it as it relates to the rough formation and reliefs that we see in the region, the Paris Sedimentary Basin is a flat area of marine deposits, like we just said. On its western edge lie the wine-growing regions of Chablis, the Grand Auxerrois and the Chantilly that we just saw on the map before. And we're here in the northwestern part of Bourgogne. And it's this Paris Basin is like a gigantic flat plate, if you picture it as a plate with slightly raised edges, and the formation of the Alps and the consequent pushing up of the Morvan region to the south, and further to the east, the formation of the Vosges mountain ranges. All these triggered the formation and accentuation of 4 successive slopes around the Paris Basin. And it's these slopes, as these slopes were formed, in the upper layers of the marl limestone sediment of the Upper Jurassic period, we see the Kimmeridgian and Portlandian formations, and shown here on the diagram, blue on this diagram. The green plateau dates back from the recent Cretaceous period. So you can see the youngest soil being at the top, and then successive layers being older soils. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as well, because Portland soils are of a younger formation than Kimmeridgian.